Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on April 30th, 2018. It's around 4:45. Well, it's 16:45 in the afternoon Eastern Time. This is the first time I've used this Canon G9X as a vlogging camera on my selfie stick, so I wanted to see how it's going to do. It's been an interesting day, of course. It's a very benign day. It's it's up into the 70s now. Although we were, I don't know. I don't know. I think we were actually 29 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, around 6:30 when I got up. But we're in for a nice run of warm weather, and maybe we've broken out of this. You know, we can always hope. All right, enough of the weather. This morning I saw the Canadian geese couple that's been obviously nesting down on the little islandy area in the middle of the creek. They weren't swimming. They were walking around, and trailing behind them was one little tiny Gosling. Now, I don't know if he's going to be the first of many, or if this is like, you know, their effort for the year. But it's going to be fun to watch these individuals as they try to survive the raccoons and the onslaught of, you know, the various vicissitudes of nature. Yeah, it's going to be great. This is the earliest I've ever seen these guys. Usually I don't notice them or see them until they're out swimming in the creek behind their parents. There's a raccoon roaming around over there where their nest was. I hope that he didn't get all the rest of them. I like to edit raccoons whenever I see one, if I have a safe opportunity to do so. I remember one memorable Sunday morning around 3 in the morning. Boy, I had to do some wet work here on the back deck. Sort of set me off to church in the right mood, you know. Purging the kingdom. Meanwhile, I was able to send a WeTransfer file of the movie When We're 64 to Tony Pincham. There was some problem when he got his new computer, and there was a file, or maybe the file didn't come over right when he did something. I'm not quite clear on that, but I did send it to him. He did download it. It did work. He made a DVD from it. So good. Here we've got a little activity down here. I don't know, maybe they've got their newbie here. Let's see, maybe the newbie's swimming behind them. I don't know if I see the youngster, or else is he videoing the Buckeye trees? I think that's enough for that effort. Well, aside from a little wayward flopping around at the end there. This will actually be a fairly reasonable vlogging camera on my selfie stick, although I don't take my selfie stick to the UK, but I can use my little tripod head handle to do that if I want to. Anyway, it's all part of the learning curve on this new camera. Okay, now yesterday, of course, was Sunday morning, and I read in church at the 8 o'clock service. I'm going to read next week too at the first Sunday in May, and then I'll read at the last Sunday in May before the Monday Memorial Day holiday, the faux Memorial Day holiday. The real Memorial Day holiday is May 30th. Don't know why they moved that, but they did. Little things that get me going. The rector was, gave a pretty good sermon up to the point where he decided to walk off into the weeds about, the transition process. And, and be sure to look at the website at our statement, parish statement that was approved by the, diocesan poobahs. More of that and non. But when I clicked the little clicker thing to unlock the truck, to get into the truck to get home, it's like beep, 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 beep. It's like, I don't know what happened. I guess the truck thought I was trying to break in. So I went in and I started it, I stopped it, I started it, I stopped it, I ran through the gears, So I thought, well, let's read the owner's manual. Yeah. So I got the owner's manual. It's like, well, the indices in these owner's manuals on vehicles are not really the greatest on earth. I mean, the way they think about topics are not the way I think about topics. And but by golly, this time it said alarm system. And it was all on 1 or 2 pages. Fine. Well, of course, then you have to try to figure out, are they talking about turning it off? They tell you a lot about arming it, turning it on. But they don't tell you too damn much about turning it off. And then they use things like, RKM, SKD. I don't know what that means. Beep, beep, beep. Of course, you're attracting a crowd, aren't you? Ah, good, an audience. Yay! I should have passed out my YouTube cards. In any case, what they wanted me to do was just hit the unlock button again. And I did it. Stop. I don't know. I have no idea what happened to start this thing off. Yeah, technology's great, isn't it? Meanwhile, we've got three fairly, three of the church stalwarts bunged up in either rest homes or hospitals or suffering at home with breathing problems. Yeah. So today I got a memo, another church memo. I guess they're going to do a major kitchen remodel. Which I have no idea whether that's warranted or not. some years back, they put in a commercial grade kitchen with a $30,000 fire suppression, halon fire suppression system. But I guess these are all new. This involves basically cabinets and rearranging of freezers and refrigerators and shelves. So they're doing that. That's in the offing. I guess there's this committee meeting that I was assigned to without knowing it is tomorrow, but I can't because one, Tuesday's the day that Paul often comes up and does his laundry, okay? I've got, kind of this quasi-patient of mine coming up to pick up some medicines I ordered for him. Yeah. Plus, I just don't want to do it. It'd be nice. First of all, I wouldn't even ask. I was just sort of like, it was like, here's this list of, we're going to have this planning session. Well, okay, well, fine, have a planning session. So last night I talked with the two Tonys, and it was really good to see Tony Pincham in the UK looking so good. He was actually looking happy. It was so great to see him looking happy. And of course, with Tony Ballman, and me carrying on, I had a good time. But we got talking about how technology's advanced, particularly in watches. And this was triggered by, it was triggered by a discussion about cognitive behavioral therapy and how this psychiatric preceptor I had when I was in medical school didn't like cognitive behavioral therapy. Well, it had just, first of all, in 1974, or 5, it had just come out. It was just sort of starting out as the new thing, as opposed to the Jungians and the Freudians and the Druggians and things. And we had to write a paper, as every student had to write a paper, and since I had and have had and still have significant weight issues, I did mine on, cognitive behavioral therapy to try to, get, for people who are trying to lose weight. Which, I don't know, it's, some of this stuff works, some of it doesn't work, And again, like I said, there wasn't that much data out there in the literature at the time. And I wrote the paper, and he didn't like what I said, but he, said it was a very legitimate effort, and fine. We had this, it was interesting, of the 5 major specialties, you had surgery, internal medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, and it was like one community medicine, but there were like 2-month rotations, and then of course then you had a number of electives. You had 9 months of electives, and you could basically sign up for anything you wanted. I did like 2 extra months of pediatric surgery, 2 extra months of thoracic surgery, and I did 2 extra months of OB-GYN for my electives. And then, of course, there was a series where you had outpatient clinics. Those weren't electives. There was like 4 months of those, And but anyway, but all of the main rotations you had to write a paper, or take a fairly good stiff test at the end of the rotation. You know, surgery gave you a test. Pediatrics gave you a pretty damn good test too. You know, like three essay questions. You know, that was a good rotation. Well, they were all good rotations. Well, psychiatry was, you know. The great thing about psychiatry was over at Mount Carmel East, Mount Carmel, Maine, rather, they gave all the students free lunch. So you can go down and pig out in the cafeteria. Well, there's free lunch, basically free food anytime you wandered down there. Once they let you out of the locked ward. Well, this actually got going on about this guy's watch. This guy had one of those pulsar LED watches. Not LCD watches, LED watches, light emitting diode watches with the red digits. Yeah, and he had like this big sort of gold case around this black screen, and then you press this button and you got the time in red numbers. This is 1974. This guy would sit in this semi-darkened room while he was talking to the three students that were on the rotation that he was sort of like in charge of. And he would sort of lean in and he'd press this button to see the time. He paid $2,000 for this watch. This is in 1974. That watch now in $1974 now is around $14,000 now. You can buy the same watch as a toss-up variety. Maybe no, it would be LED, not it would be LCD, not LED, for like 50 cents in an arcade or at the state fair. You know how times have advanced. You know. Well, like most psychiatrists I've met, he was a strange ranger, a real strange ranger. Maybe he didn't like my choice of topic about weight control because he himself was like Jabba the Hutt. I never could count all the double chins he had in the darkness. Well, the semi-darkness. He left one little light burning, this little lamp burning low. I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to show you, if I can, some of this crap from the Rector search project, or process. I'm sorry, process. And I will show you that, but first I want to show you the two books I got today. Reformation England by Peter Marshall. Reformation England 1480, 1460, 1642 by Peter Marshall. It's published by, it's the second edition, Bloomsbury Academic, copyright 2012, published by Holder Education in 2003, second edition published in 2012 by Bloomsbury Academic. Okay. He writes very wonderfully. And then here's English Reformations, Religion, Politics, and Society under the Tudors by Christopher Haig. Now this man is repeatedly cited by both Eamon Duffy and Diarmaid McCullough. And so I thought, well, let's just get these bad boys, you know. This is published by the Clarendon Press in Oxford in 1993, so it's been around for a while. These are both used books. I got these off Amazon, both used books. Very reasonably priced. I don't think they're out of print. But the hardbacks were just prohibitively expensive. I wasn't going to pay that tariff for a hardback. I don't have a hard on about whether I have a hardback or a paperback anyway. I just do not have my paperbacks all crapped up. But these aren't crapped up. One of them came from a Goodwill store in Arizona. All right. Now, let's see about this bullshit on the search process. Well, there it is, the parish narrative. Interesting that they chose the columbarium, the site where we, inter our dead, as the lead-in to what is supposed to be a story about a living, vibrant church. They go through the usual stuff here. There's always some bump and boilerplate. What we value at St. Peter's preaching, yes. Educate and speak to our interests as they apply to our everyday lives rather than a scholarly approach. See, I would prefer a scholarly approach. Have enjoyed our interim rector's edition of a short children's sermon during the 10:30 service. No, this man has not enjoyed that. Prayer, they're very, very sound on prayer. Families and children, yes, we've got to have families, but I really don't like this idea that we describe ourselves as, family, valued and family oriented. But all right. Yeah, grow, right? Current ministries, yes. Opportunities and challenges. Well, it's interesting. 63% of our respondents believe we need to revisit our basic purpose and overall mission. Many parishioners miss some of our past events and group efforts, which are slowly phased out because the church population and demographics have changed. Yeah, I think we're getting past our demographic time bomb, but all right. Then there's something about a single external ministry. I'm always suspicious of that kind of language. Generational focus and needs. Yeah, no, I agree. They need to have more stuff for the younger people. They really do. There's no question about that. Recasting our assets. I mean, don't you love that jargon? And then they talk about all the bump they went through to put this out. And let's see, where's the one thing that set me off? I don't get set off this way very often, but let's just find out here. Well, here's the Family Fun Fest block party. Oh, that's another thing that just really claws at me. The family fun, yes, with bouncy castles. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do here is let's just go to the thing that really ticked me off here. Here we are. Our parish needs a person who can simultaneously guide us on a new path and also provide and here's the phrase, comfortable church home to our large over 65 population. Let me go through that again. Guide us on a new path. That's a bunch of crap. And also provide a comfortable church home to our large over 65 population. From the parish description posted on our website. This is from an email to Tony. Now, I'm normally not a big fan of the complaint of being patronized, because I think sometimes that's like a "methink the lady doth protest too much" sort of situation. But this gives me a sense of being patronized. Here, I would phrase this: how about someone who can intellectually challenge a population of highly educated people with probably more graduate degrees per capita than most congregations, who do not suffer fools lightly and do not wish to be comfortable? Certainly not wish to be comfortable intellectually. I like to be challenged. Our last rector did that, at least on a one-to-one basis. Maybe not so much as on a congregational, while he's up preaching basis. He wasn't that great a preacher. This guy's not a bad preacher as long as he's not talking about transition processes. But as I said, he's been given a bad gig. But I don't want a comfortable church. I want to be someplace I like coming. Doesn't have to be necessarily comfortable. You know, I'll tell you, you throw a ping pong ball in there at the 10:30 service, or I mean, especially if you throw a ping pong ball in the 8 o'clock service, assuming that it's not going to bounce around too much. You know, you're going to, because we only have about 13, 14, 15 people there any Sunday on 8 o'clock. But, you know, you're going to hit I've told you the story about being at Bible study, and we were being tasked with we had to sort of staple together service bulletins, you know, for one of the bigger services, and we had a 20-minute, I kid you not, a 20-minute discussion where you put one staple or two staples in the crease, you know, when you on the fold. And it hit me that, you know, around the table in the Bible study room, there were 9 people. And among those 9 people, you had 15 graduate degrees. And they're spending 20 minutes discussing how many fucking staples to put into these bulletins. Well, that illustrates my dad's statement about educated fools. Don't be educated fools. One guy taught Greek at the seminary. You had one physician, 3 nurses, all with postgraduate degrees. There were a number of there were a number, there were some people who had, you know, teaching degrees, but they were actually in their field, not education degrees. All right, you get my point. I think it's a wonderful day. I need to go back out and enjoy it. So I'll say bye-bye, YouTubers, now. Learning how to use this as a vlogging thing, actually.